Welcome to In Focus with Silvana Pavlovska on this YouTube and Rumble channels. Thank you for joining me today. Today is Friday, the 23rd of August, 2024, and this program is broadcast from Melbourne, Australia. Today's program will be in English, but also in the Macedonian language. We will commence with the program in the English language, first followed by the Macedonian language. We were intrigued when we read a newspaper column published in Nova Macedonia newspaper on the 19th of August this year in Skopje, Macedonia, and were also inspired to learn more about a new initiative of an international caliber planned for Macedonia. The author of the column is Professor Dr. Biljana Vankovska. She heads the Center for Global Changes at the Faculty of Philosophy, the prestigious University of Cyril and Methodius in Skopje, or Cyril and Methodius. You may or may not be familiar with the fact that Biljana Vankovska was a presidential candidate in the recently held elections in the Republic of Macedonia, nominated by the Left Party. Vankovska is a full-time professor of international relations and peace studies at the Faculty of Philosophy at the already mentioned university. She's been one of the pioneer researchers in peace and conflict studies in the Balkans since the mid-1990s. She was a guest senior researcher, or research fellow, I should say, at Copenhagen Peace Research Institute from 1997 to 2000. Also a faculty staff member at the European Peace University in Austria from 2000 to 2014, and a senior fellow at the Geneva Center for the Democratic Control of Armed Forces in 2001 and 2002. She is an international advisor of the Transnational Foundation for Peace and Future Studies in Sweden since 1998 and a member of the Global Governance Forum since 2020. In 2023, Vankovska was appointed as the contact person in Macedonia for the How initiative. I hope I'm pronouncing this one correctly. And that stands for National Eco-Security System for All People. She's a member of an editorial panel on a number of academic journals, and her research interests include international security, peace and conflict research, transitional justice, and the Balkans affairs. She has authored over 200 academic papers, including 5 university textbooks, and her works are published in a number of other countries. She writes regularly for Nova Macedonia newspaper and other media in Macedonia and internationally. Professor Biljana Vankovska, welcome to In Focus with Silvana Pavlovska, and thank you for joining me today.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be part of your show. You're doing a great job. I've seen some of your productions, and I'm really thrilled to be here today. And also, thank you for the wonderful introduction.
You're most welcome. In your recent newspaper column, your title read, "I'm ashamed and grateful for everything." What is the meaning of this title? What did you want to tell us?
Maybe the proper English translation of being ashamed should be more embarrassed.
Embarrassed, okay.
Embarrassed, yes. Because I did not, let's clear up that I did not anything bad, so that I feel ashamed, yes. So why my embarrassment?
Yes.
You know, as you said already, I'm a university professor, and the job of university professors, scholars, researchers is to combine the teaching part with research, communicating with foreign audiences, with colleagues from all around the world. And since recently, I've become head of this newly formed Global Changes Center. So our first move or our idea was, let's present not only ourselves as people who have something to offer to the world academia, but let's join the forces with our friends, colleagues from abroad, because the international board of the center really brings in wonderful names. So we don't have time to list all of them, but it is available on the website. So the idea was, let's meet, let's talk with each other, let's discuss the current state of affairs in the world, the dramatically changing world. So we all started with great enthusiasm, and luckily we also got this minimal grant that comes from the university. But of course, that was not enough to organize a proper international conference. Yes. Some of the colleagues would probably object, why through donations? Why not, through this regular way of addressing business entities, bank, corporations, state institutions, and so on. So believe me, we did everything. We tried literally everything, and we found closed doors most of the time, with few exceptions. So that's why actually I decided to launch this GoFundMe initiative.
Yes, and we'll talk about that. I'd like to talk about that in a minute, but before we do that, this upcoming international conference is titled Cooperative Multipolar System in Quest for a New World Order. And it will be held on the 3rd and the 4th of October this year in Skopje. So what is, can you elaborate a bit more on this title and the aim of this conference as well? I mean, is this going to be the first time that such a conference will be held in Macedonia?
Indeed, this is going to be a unique conference, not only due to the fact that we bring in people who have never been in Macedonia. Maybe we know about them from the media, they're all great names, but most of them will be physically in Skopje. You know, I started from the thesis, if we cannot go to the world, let's invite the world to Skopje. So we are going to show our environment, Macedonian cuisine or beauties or whatever we managed to do in this short period of time. But let's make Skopje a center of intellectual and academic thinking force and actually ideas for peace and changes in the world. Why is the importance of this conference? It is because of the dramatic moment we all live in. This is the most terrible international crisis, and as October approaches, I'm getting really nervous, because anytime we expect a new war to start somewhere, Iran, Israel, Middle East, Ukraine, not to mention the other less known parts of the world that are also engulfed into unrest and serious crisis. So this is the moment when we have a moral obligation to talk about the reality. My feeling, and one of my colleagues, is that we have been lured into this dream fairy tale story that now, once we are a member of NATO and maybe one day we will become member of European Union, everything will be perfect, we will be saved, and
milk and honey. They say milk and honey.
Yes, exactly, milk and honey, as we say, meti mleko in Macedonian. So we are, in a way, party breakers. You know, we are trying to send a voice of reason and wake-up call. Hello, let's see what's going on all around the world. Some good things and some bad things. So we have to be aware, no matter if we're a NATO country, we still have a nation of our own, state of our own. We have to try to combine, there is this African proverb, when the elephants are having fight or making love, the grass suffers. So we are the grass. We are the tiny, small countries that are switched somewhere, sandwiched actually between the great powers. Yes. So I don't think that we should be passive. Therefore, we do what we can do, and that is to talk about the reality. Yes. Multipolarity is a reality. Unfortunately, we don't know where it is going to end. I'm usually quoting the old philosopher Antonio Gramsci, who actually predicted the Second World War, saying this is the time when the old order is dying and the new is struggling to be born. This is a time of monsters. And I am really concerned, as well as most of my guests and our guests at the conference, that this is really a crucial turning point. Yes. When we are going to face the dilemma, are we going back to barbarity of a possible new war, or we are going to start building bridges? What bothers me very much especially in the Western terminology, political rhetoric and media rhetoric, speaking about the rules-based order. This is a new one, because not so far in the past, we used to talk about the UN system. Yes. Of, ordering the chaos in the international relations. All of a sudden, we find UN totally marginalized and impotent, and actually not even able to prevent genocide or mass murders or bloodshed that is ongoing. But I don't believe that rules-based order is the answer, because the question is, who defines the rules? And as a Macedonian, I have to speak as a Macedonian as well, because we suffered from that rules-based order a lot. It's not so long that we joined NATO and paid the dear price for that. That was the change of our name, identity, constitution. Now we are also in another ordeal with our Bulgarian neighbors over the language, the history. So it is an agony that we are going through, and we don't need to do that actually, unless there are no rules, because rules applies to others, but we are a specific case and we suffered because of that. So we have a lot to say, from our own experience, but also to share and to hear other experiences from all around the world, and to try to find a platform for dialogue. I'm not saying that we are going to agree on everything said on that conference from all our guests, but it is important to provide a space, a platform to speak freely, because even freedom of speech, and you as a journalist, I am sure know much more about that, is getting really limited, and we are really all concerned about what I am allowed to say or write, or is it going to be censored or not. So we have really plenty of themes to talk about, and I'm really looking forward to this conference. Also, of course, with the help of our supporters and people who hear about this unique event. The event is going to be unique, not only because it is financed by ordinary people who try with their small symbolic donations to help us provide a decent atmosphere for all our guests, but also because we are going to be open for those who are interested to join us there, because academia cannot function, well, like we are elitist, we belong to some special part of the society and we talk to each other. No, here we are going to talk to everybody, to the decision makers, to ordinary people, to activists, to people with different political views and professions. So we are going to really make some event that haven't been seen yet, at least in Macedonia.
Thank you. And in your view, what does the theory of change mean? I mean, change is necessary, isn't it? Maybe people are resistant to change, but change is occurring every day to us individually, but also collectively everywhere around the world. Change for the better, though, isn't it? You
Yes, of
mentioned
course.
all the conflicts and what's going on, but where is the peace there? So change is possible, would you agree? But does it require a willingness on political elites to drive it, to develop the arguments to the public about why change is necessary?
So far, that at least I'm talking as a Macedonian citizen, the dominant narrative that comes from the political elites, regardless if they're coming from the so-called left or so-called right, they're all in the center, I would say, rather. It is more or less the same. We are changing for the sake of NATO and EU membership, but as Macedonian citizens would notice and agree, I believe, with me, is that they are doing changes in order nothing to be changed radically. So the power remains in the old same oligarchic centers and political elites. Some people criticize me for using the word elite when it comes to Macedonian political class, but
Yes.
it is, just a traditional term.
Yes.
So these elites are not really. They don't have a vision, I would say. They are actually listening to the foreign real masters who are telling them what is the best for us, for the world, etc. So the change, the way I understand it, comes from bottom up, bottom up approach.
Yes.
Comes from the people, for the people, and by the people. So that is the definition of democracy, but also on international society as well. That's why we need to communicate with peoples from other meridians, from other parts of the world, in order to share these experiences and to see, are we really experiencing a positive change, or, as I said, the time of monsters, or a rising military-industrial complex that is then combined with media, academia? So it is rather a complex situation that we are facing.
Yes.
I don't say that the change, I agree fully with you. Whether we like it or not, changes or developments are ongoing. That's dialectics of our lives. But still, we are not passive bystanders of our lives. We are not, a statist in our own life movie. We have power to appeal, to inspire, to make people take the destiny, at least in their own communities. We don't need to change the world globally, but if I start doing things good in my own working place or my local community, my municipality, my street, keeping the order of my street and my small garden or whatever. So changes assume different things for different people. But it is important that we move this river of changes into the right direction and then talk to each other about our experiences.
I think you've answered my question. I was going to ask you next, but feel free to elaborate or add anything. I was going to ask you what evidence, if any, exists to guide our understanding of the factors that currently constrain the emergence of a new world order.
The factors, unfortunately, the roots of the current situation should be, sought back in the past, not far back into the past, but still, I believe that many of the current horrible situations and conflict that we have were predictable and preventable. Unfortunately, for the power elites on a global level, and here I'm not referring to the small, less powerful actors on the international arena,
yes,
but they are actually trying to protect their own national interest at any cost, even if that brings catastrophe for others. Talking about the environment, for example, or depletion of the natural resources and degradation of the human nature. And we can talk in many, many different regards about this topic. But what I'm concerned is, of course, this militarization of the world and the rise of the military-industrial complex and the new arms race, which is something close to the Cold War that we remember from our youth. Yes. And now it is transformed into something similar, but also with some specific traits that do not really can be compared with the past. But anyway, it is the factors are numerous, and one of them is, for example, the domination of the corporations that are not visible, they're not accountable. When we change our governments or vote for a government, we believe that we have some power over the government, that they are accountable to us. But there are actors that are not accountable to anybody, that actually they pour money into electoral processes or select leaders and so on. So it's enough to see what's going on in United States nowadays before this electoral campaign that's going on.
Yes.
Actually, and some people ask me, why do you believe that American elections are so important? Unfortunately, and that is not a new one, not a new question. I've been answering this many years ago to many students in Austria at the peace studies. For example, young Americans would ask me, what should we do for peace in the world? My answer was, please be careful when you vote for a president of your country, because our destiny, the destiny of Macedonians, of the Balkans, of many people in the world, depends more on your president than on ours. So the world is really maybe a global village or a global jungle. I don't know how to name it, but we really are enforced to follow the developments in various parts of the world, because they have effect on us, even in a small country like Macedonia.
Thank you. You are listening to In Focus with Silvana Pavlovska, speaking with Professor Dr. Biljana Vankovska. She is the chair of the Center for Global Changes at the Faculty of Philosophy at the prestigious University of Cyril and Methodius in Skopje. Now, let's have a look at my next question here for you. Do you think evidence based on research should become the starting point for establishing how policy change can advance the futures?
That is the original idea. You nicely put it. There should be first evidence-based empirical research and people of science in different fields, of course, who provide knowledge and results, comparisons of different experiments or projects and everything. And then it is expected that the politicians would listen, at least take advice from the knowledgeable people.
Yes.
It doesn't happen at all, anywhere in the world. Actually, there is a part of academia, not only in Macedonia, everywhere. And talking on the ground of my discussions and communications with my colleagues abroad, that whoever doesn't fit into the predetermined narrative, political dominant narrative, which would be summed up with this acronym TINA, there is no alternative. The narrative is there, and then if you want to be welcome as a scholar and invited everywhere, or respected, or even offered a government position, you should just actually adjust to that narrative and speak to the power what they want to hear, and to be submissive and not to tell the truth, usually to give legitimacy to the ongoing politics. Unfortunately or fortunately, my choice and the choice of most of my guests, I have to admit that we are more or less a similar group of people who thinks that we should be the voice of reason and dissent, especially if things go wrong.
Yes.
So when the power centers do not follow the word and the reason of science, be it humanistic sciences or social sciences, technical or medical or whatever, then we have to find our way to be heard and to actually make people think critically. I never say that we are fully 100% right, but at least there must be a dialogue. There must be a communication. My feeling is that we are closed, and there is not only a captured state as a state apparatus, but also captured university and captured intellectual realm that, is repeating, parroting the same things all over again, never going out of the mainstream. That is not leading to any progress. It is a defense of a status quo.
Now, I noticed...
And status quo is bad enough.
Sorry to interrupt you. I noticed that one of the persons who will participate in some way or other will be Jeffrey Sachs. Would you like to tell us more about that and also mention some of the other guests that might be attending the conference?
Yes, I'm at the same time lucky and happy to have confirmation by Professor Sachs, who is a well-known professor of economics at the Columbia University in New York, but also one of the leading persons of the UN Sustainable Development Program for many years now. He has also practical experience with advising various governments, especially in the post-communist world. But at this point, Jeffrey Sachs looks to many of us as a moral vertical, as a hero who speaks the truth to power. Yes. He is one of the people who takes all the risks to criticize the US foreign policy, for example, the militarization, trying to find ways to establish communication, cooperation. We don't need to agree on everything. We don't need to copy other nations' political systems and orders, but we need to cooperate on economic level, social, cultural, to try to understand each other in order to provide a peaceful future. So he is extremely active. You can always find him on YouTube and various platforms, talking to various audiences. And he is taking part online. Unfortunately, I was trying to book him quite early last year, at the end of last year. And he was really trying to find, space to jump into our small conference, but it was impossible because he's traveling all around the world. He's sold out in advance, And the promise is that he's going to join us in live. So he wants to be heard and to get answers and to see the audience, to establish some kind of lively communication. And we are going to provide that, of course, for 30 minutes. 30 minutes of Jeffrey Sachs' time is something that we should be grateful for. Free of charge, of course. So he is obviously one of the persons that attract the most of the attention. And lately, I can see even some critical voices from the parts of the Macedonian society that are trying to defend the mainstream, our strategic partner. And so Jeffrey is used to, on one hand, appreciation by many people, but also smearing campaigns by others.
He knows how to deal with them.
He is seen as the controversial. I don't mind. I am really delighted having him. And also the other guests, just briefly, are all brilliant people. I just don't have enough time to list all of them, but the agenda is more or less finalized. I can send it to anybody who wants to see it. Unfortunately, our website is broke. It's down.
Yes.
So we are trying to revive it, to bring it back to life. New problems on our site, I'm sorry. But the agenda is ready, and you can see people like Radhika Desai, who is a brilliant economist. Geopolitical economy is her field of work. A critical mind, a woman with integrity and eloquence and mind that I admire very much. Jan Oberg is my old friend from the Transnational Foundation for Peace and Future Research from Lund, Sweden, peace researcher and activist for many years, and I learned a lot from him. Jiang Weiwei is professor from Fudan University in China. And in Australia, you may know and have heard of him more than people in Macedonia. He is called Chinese Fukuyama, like a person who is really very important in the field of international relations and political science in China, but also communicating with the world. Quite often present in the media, very elaborate, very eloquent, and I would say wise person that we can hear a new perspective on the world and probably learn something. And Richard Sakwa is a professor from Kent University in United Kingdom. He is expert on Russia, Europe, Russia, history, relationships, global affairs, international security. He's also seen as a controversial, as all of us, but we promise a good talk, good provocations, and maybe inspiration for future events.
That's wonderful. When will Macedonia regard the public and foreign policies as investments that generate benefits into the future?
Oh, I'm sorry to say that my feeling is that by losing our sovereignty in terms of our internal matters, that means most to us, like if we have no freedom to design our own constitution, and everything is imposed by
Others.
foreign actors or neighbors who are blackmailing us. We have lost the right to design our own political community, to even write our own history books. So we are deprived from the right of self-determination in all aspects of the meaning of this concept. And a state like that has no foreign policy, I'm afraid. We are not allowed to really open, at least the windows and viewpoints for what's going on in the world. Our politicians until yesterday, let me quote Dewey's first people who used to say, the sun in our country rises on the west, which meaning we are not looking anywhere but the West. So whatever the West says is right, is moral, is legitimate, is okay. So we are just a colony of the West, in my view. I'm so sorry to say this, but I fully understand the fact that we are a member of NATO, that we are obliged to follow some rules now. But still, even members of NATO in European Union, other countries have some space to run a policy of their own, or to care about their own national interests. In our case, I'm afraid we are just here to follow the rules, even to invest the money from our poverty. You know that Macedonia is one of the poorest countries in Europe. And we invest our money into military sector, into providing, purchasing armament, sending it to Ukraine or elsewhere, instead of taking care of the poorest people, children, elderly. We are growing old as a nation, as we all know. So we are not taking care of our short-term or mid-term priorities, but we are following the lead of the great powers. I simply cannot understand or accept that form of policy.
Well, how do you see the advancing of human rights in Macedonia? Will it have a transformative impact on the society?
We have made this jump into this transition to democracy, and that was done with a simple act of deleting, erasing our past. There is, of course, this idea that everything in the so-called communism, we never had communism, it was socialism, but that was also based on some sort of human rights. For example, women's rights. We had a high level of female emancipation. Surely we did not have enough political rights, like political pluralism, multi-party system, and that sort of rights. But still, some social rights, or as I mentioned, gender rights, reproductive rights and right of the woman to decide on her own health and future generations and all that. So there is we erased everything from the past. We tried to catch up with this developed Western world. And now we are in a situation to start learning the basics, something that our generation used to live, not only to know and experience, but also to live with these rights. And of course, the human rights is a broad topic. We can talk about many different rights. I don't believe that we can really talk about human dignity and a life that is at the well-being of a nation if it's poor. As Gandhi used to say, poverty is the worst form of violence. So Macedonia is really going downhill in this regard. Young people are leaving. So whose rights? Probably we should develop a new idea about the right of elderly people. because elderly people are vulnerable groups now and becoming majority in this country. So probably even that focus and agenda should shift from the young to the elderly. We are experiencing these changes as we started this talk really on different levels. And one more remark here. I have a feeling that human rights have been misused in order to curb human rights. For example, I've been charged recently for arguing that the violence in Gaza should stop immediately. And some NGOs who are defendant of human rights charge me for hate speech or inciting, I don't know, discrimination, whatever. So it is very tiny, risky line from which you can find yourself on one side or the other side, from a defender of human rights to someone who is dangerous for the society. That is not freedom, I would say. If I don't have a freedom of speech and freedom of doing my job, then there is no freedom at all.
It appears that the very NGOs are part of the rules-based system that we have in the world. So yes, they do play a major role there. Unfortunately or fortunately, unfortunately most likely, because their focus should be on assisting people who are disadvantaged instead of making accusations against Professor Dr. Vankovska. I want us to come back now to the conference and ask you, how can the Macedonian diaspora assist with this international conference that you are organizing in Skopje, Macedonia? How can we assist? Here in Australia, America, Canada, wherever we are, the UK and so on. What would you like?
Thank you so much for asking this question and actually offering this channel for communication, because I personally approached the major Macedonian diaspora associations organization and asked them for an institutional support grant or something. Yes. The answer was no, we have no funds for this year and so on. So that's why I am embarrassed and also grateful for everyone who found the link to GoFundMe initiative that is still open.
GoFundMe is an initiative that was proposed to you by somebody who lives in the USA. I understand.
Yes, because it is not possible to launch it from here. We are not on the list. And to make things even worse, I cannot donate myself or my conference through GoFundMe because Macedonia is not on the list of the countries. When you enter the data of your bank account or bank card, and you have to find your country, Macedonia is not there at all. That is strange because only China, Russia, Iran, Syria, and Macedonia are not on the list. Wow. It's amazing. This is the first time that I found out.
Yes.
Goran is a former student, brilliant economist who graduated with Professor Sachs at Columbia University. He works in an American famous company, and he offered me his help because he opened actually this account. I trust him, of course. These days he's in Skopje, and we are just going to meet and discuss how to manage the funds. So people donate, from small amounts of $10 to $300 or
however many they want to donate. It's for a good cause, very good cause.
We set, this maximum to $10,000, which is far too much. I have to admit, we do not intend to collect so much money. That would be too too much. But that is the scale that Goran was allowed to set due to American regulations, due to these tax authorities monitoring and so on. So we would be very happy to get to 5,000. We are currently over $3,000 approximately, I'm talking. So we are getting close to what is necessary to, as I mentioned, if we manage to get funds for the keynote speakers, they are covered. Yes. We have found money invested in them. But now we are trying to help our colleagues from less developed countries who are also brilliant, but cannot afford, traveling and all that, to make them come to Skopje. They also have many brilliant things to share with us. And also with Professor Sachs, we have this actually need to provide the best possible equipment, these LED monitors and streaming and all that, yes, to really have a high quality product. Mm-hmm. And these are our needs. If anybody feels inspired by what was said today, we would be more than grateful, because as I said, the organizations did not hear our call. So now we are addressing people, ordinary people with their free will to decide how much they can contribute.
Yes, indeed. And for the information regarding GoFunding, I think you made that available on Facebook, yes, where people can, it's a link, and people can click on the link and they will be taken to a secure portal where they can nominate whatever donation they wish to make for this wonderful cause. And finally, my question relates to your candidature for the president of Macedonia. What are the 3 most important lessons that you've learned, Biljana, from running at the recent Macedonian elections?
Oh, this is the most difficult questions I got. First, I did not expect something like that, but there are many lessons. Even I am a professor of political science. Yes, I know the system. When I accepted the nomination, I knew that I was the outsider in the race of these major players. Mm-hmm. But the idea was to offer a new alternative, new narrative, new possibilities. So I believe that this maneuvering space was used as much as we could do, with limited funds, with boycott by the media, of course, really just few possibilities to really have a normal interview based on a program that I had. The program is still available, translated in English as well. And some of my friends and guests from the conference actually had a look before, and they could really give me a feedback. Am I making sense with this agenda? Or so? Yes. So I try to really combine not only my knowledge and understanding, but also from the people who are much wiser than me. Of course, the time is not ripe for a candidate like me. No. As I'm too old now, probably this is going to be left for a future generation. But we opened the space of a political debate on a different level, on a different argumentation. And I used to say that throughout the campaign, and I still believe. I was one against the six candidates who were just recycling or combining the same narrative.
Yes.
And now we can see that nothing has changed. That unfortunately, my friend, colleague from the university, who is currently president of the Republic, is just following the secure road, the road known, not unknown, as Robert Frost would say. So things are going through this inertia,
Yes.
and no changes, and many people are now disappointed. I'm not surprised.
Well, we are too. In Australia, we are definitely. I can give you feedback on that one. Quite disappointing, not just with that position, but the other important position
Of course,
of the person running the country. Professor Dr. Biljana Vankovska, thank you for speaking with me today. It's been a pleasure to meet you, and I hope that the seed that you have planted will grow and that it will be nurtured for the benefit of all people, and in particular, the Macedonian population in the Republic.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and wishing you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you. This interview, conducted in English, and shortly we will also do an interview in Macedonian, was with Professor Dr. Biljana Vankovska, Chair of the Global Changes Center and a full-time professor at the University of Cyril and Methodius in Skopje, Macedonia. The conference which she's charged with organizing is titled, once again, Cooperative Multipolar System in Quest for a New World Order. And the conference is scheduled on 3rd and 4th of October 2024 in Skopje. So make your inquiries if you happen to be in Skopje on those dates, and see if you can register and attend it. We are going to take a short break now, and then we'll conduct the interview in the Macedonian language. Thank you.